morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, ladies and gentlemen, on your own screen at the right show. Today, we have the pleasure to have our frequently visitor, Clint Oram, with us. He is co-host of Prompt This podcast. Prompt This is the name of the podcast, to be precise. And I would like, before he has the opportunity to talk, to introduce him. Clint is not only a regular guest in different roles on our show, but he has been the co-founder of SugarCRM and is a true pioneer in the CRM industry. With over 2 decades of experience shaping customer relationship management, Clint helped launch SugarCRM back in 2004, driven by a vision to make CRM simpler and more effective for businesses. Please note, he is not talking about efficiency. He's talking about effectiveness. That is a very important difference. He's not only a tech innovator, but also a thought leader on AI, predictive analytics, and the future of customer engagement. Where he is looking always for the benefit the customer is getting. Clint hosts the Prompt This podcast and is passionate about helping companies scale through technology and strategy. We're thrilled to have him share his insight on CRM evolution, AI integration, and his own startup experiences, where, from his point of view, the benefits of AI are to be found and what's next for customer experience from his perspective. Now, after having that, what did I miss, Clint?
I don't think you missed anything. That was a fantastic introduction. Thank you, Ralph. Thomas,
Da-da-da-da.
my pleasure to be here today.
It's a pleasure for us to have you with us.
Good. This is it's great to be back. I have enjoyed our conversations every time, and it's a little different for me this time. I'm not doing what I was doing the last time I visited.
Yeah. That is right. And it's a cool new differentiator, such as when we were discussing some of your LinkedIn posts, for instance, where is the benefit of AI when you were trying in your last time before you left SugarCRM to find not only based on what you had integrated in SugarCRM, but from a general perspective. Hey, I'm a typical business user. I typically use all that stuff. Where's the beef? Where do I have the benefit? Having said that, it's driving me directly into the first question I would like to place.
You bet.
What do you consider AI these days? Is it a helper, a job enabler, a job transformer, a job killer? Or do you have your own definition of AI, where how you see it and like you would explain it to a typical customer of yours?
So what were those options? Job helper, job enabler, job transformer, job killer?
Killer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all of those.
Oi.
it's all of those. Absolutely. That's the transformative effect of AI right now is it's so big and so pervasive in how we do work today that I think it's all of those things, and it's going to really change the way that we think about work. In fact, I often put the whole "what is AI" topic in the future of work category, which I know a lot of futurists have liked to talk about over the years. And now they have something really meaningful to talk about, which is how is AI changing work? It's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. And a little scary.
Yeah, what is scary? What is the scary part? Such as we are approaching Halloween on one end and monsters are jumping around. Can AI be a monster?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And change is scary, right? For all of us, change is scary. It's when you're
leaving the comfort zone, it's always scary.
Not only leaving your comfort zone, but embarking on a journey that you don't know where the end is going to be. And so we talk a lot about that. Certainly, I'm sure you've heard the statistics of something like Every CEO of a modern AI company has stated that there's about a 20% probability of AI destroying life as we know it, right? That's a pretty high number when every single one of them, Sam Altman, Dario, Elon, you kind of work your way through the list and they all say, yeah, there's about a 20% chance that this could end really badly. You have to pause and think about that. And it's a pretty scary topic. I had one guest of mine on my podcast recently ask this question. Do you think AI is going to be as big as the internet was in 1994? What do you guys think? As big as the internet? No? Okay. Well, let's go a step further. Let's go a step further. Do you think it's going to be as big as electricity was in 1882? Right. And the way he described the answers from his point of view, and I agree his point of view. His name's Jason Green. He's a very smart guy.
Mhm.
Jason's point of view is it's at least as big as the internet and
Yeah.
probably as big as electricity, but certainly somewhere in between. And he then went on to describe some examples of when electricity came about, it changed the way we live, right? The way we our sleep patterns even. So the common sleep pattern before electricity was to sleep
Yeah.
twice a day. Be up for a
Oh.
while, get work done, take a
Yeah.
siesta, take a late afternoon long rest, sleep for a couple hours, get up and work again, and then have a totally different approach to the way you sleep. And then he described how when we took on electricity in our day-to-day lives, it changed the way we worked, it changed the way we lived, it changed the way we slept. We could suddenly take advantage of the evenings in a way that we couldn't before. It just changed every aspect of life. And I would argue that AI is in that same category.
Agreed.
At least well, it changes the way we work, it changes the way we research stuff, it changes the way we interact with not only with systems but also with people. So yeah, I tend to agree. It's
pretty big, isn't it?
At least as big as electricity.
Yeah, there's some big questions in there. Moving back to a work style where you have an assistant, right? Think back in the 1950s and all the movies you've seen about 40s and 50s when there was a secretary pool and everybody had an assistant who was helping them be more productive throughout the day. The cost of labor wasn't as high. Companies could afford that. And you had a whole style of work built around somebody helping you out throughout the course of the day. And we're moving back to that world, I think. But of course, instead of human-based assistance, it's going to be AI-based assistance. But we're at the front end of that curve. There's a lot of hype out there. There's a lot of BS out there. There's a lot of big promises that aren't reality. There's a lot of science fiction. And that's where I've been spending my time over the last 90 days is building out a podcast where we go through the hype, where we drill through and we dig into what's really practical and happening right now. And we're targeting business leaders who know they need to get started with AI but don't know where to begin. So that's the whole
When
purpose.
When will you have John Reed in your podcast?
I'm looking for any and all guests, right? So it's a fun conversation. We're dropping an episode a week, and we're asking questions of everybody from technology leaders who are really steeped in AI and really at the forefront of it, to business leaders who have just started taking advantage of it, and what they've actually found has been real and what's been not real in there. And then we've talked to a few folks along the way who are kind of more commenting about and observing what's going on there. So it's a fun. To be honest, the reason why I started this was two reasons. One, I wanted to do a project with my good friend Greg, who's been best friend for 35 years. We lived together back in college, and we've never actually had a chance to work together. And so we're both at a point where we could kick off this podcast and do it. So it's just kind of it's a friend thing, right? It's fun to do something with a friend. I think you guys know that energy, right? Exactly. I'm making two Germans admit that they're friends. Can I get you to say that? You're both staring at me blankly. What are you talking about?
We are
No comments. No comments. Well,
we
and
are
the other
totally.
reason is I wanted to get smart on this new generation of AI tools. I'd spent a lot of time immersing myself in building first generation AI tools, but with large language models, generative AI coming out into the marketplace, it was changing everything so quickly. And I wanted to get smart on the topic. And so the
Yeah.
best way to do is go out and talk to people, interview my friends, interview everybody I could find, and record the journey as a podcast. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
It's
good
a
idea.
smart way to do it. I really like that approach, as it is, let's say, sound and safe and solid. Yeah. No she, simply catching people's experience. What did
Yeah.
you do with it? What did you get out of it?
And sometimes the stories conflict, right? Different people have different experiences,
yeah,
right? You know, we've got some people who are just wildly enthusiastic about everything they're doing, and there's some folks saying, I don't know, it's a nice new tool, it's just automation. But you know, I've been leveraging technology to automate things my entire career. It's not that big a deal, right? You know, we've heard both stories and everything in between.
Yeah, it's automation on steroids. But
Yeah,
where do you think will be the next big breakthrough on an AI technology?
well, I think there's if you're kind of immersing yourself into it, there's a lot of topics in flight right now that are playing out in what almost feels like slow motion. But to be honest, everything changes every 30 days in this space, right? So when you're right in the middle of it, it feels like slow motion. But if you pop out and only look into what's underneath the covers once every month or two, it looks like it's rapid innovation. And the thing that's certainly developing right now is how do we build real practical AI assistants that can do jobs, not just tasks.
yeah.
That's where a lot of the innovation is happening right now. Is how do I actually get AI to work in a multifaceted way, take on a variety of tasks together, do them in an autonomous manner, so that they don't have to be directed every step of the way, and essentially do a full job. And we're not there. And to be honest, I think we've got some time before we're going to be there, because we're in the
Let me
process of
compl-
automating tasks right now, and there still needs to be a fair amount of human control on those tasks that AI are doing, and that's, I think that's the exciting place that's happening right now. And I don't think it's going to change in the next 6 months. I think it's going to take another couple of years before we get to the point where
let me
AI
yank
can
your
do a
chain
full
a
job.
little there. Let me yank your chain a little.
Okay, please.
I put myself in the position that we are there, wherever there are no guardrails needed. Thinking cybercrime,
Yeah.
thinking AI drones, well, the ones that are used there in Eastern Europe, for example, and not so publicly in other parts of the planet. I think we are there. Where we are not
I think.
is
Go
making
ahead.
them usable for productive purposes.
You know, I've been digging into the technology, and I see that you can set AI loose on a very narrowly constrained set of guidelines, rules, and have it be very effective within a narrow swim lane, if you will. But if you think about a person doing a job, being able to apply reasoning, to be judgment, to know the difference between what's right and wrong, to even being able to quickly multitask across a variety of different activities. I'm not seeing AI doing that very well yet. There's some attempts.
Define right or wrong.
Yeah, exactly. That's the tough part.
And that's the tough part. And where it doesn't really matter what's ethically right or wrong, we are there. Prove me wrong.
A lot of people
Convince me that I'm wrong, please.
A lot of people interact with AI primarily through LLMs, large language models, and they're amazed at how smart sounding a large language model is. But you know, large language models are they're basically just pattern recognition at planetary scale, right? It's pattern how do you turn language into math? and then apply pattern recognition against that that math, that language that's been turned into math. And what you get out of that is a string of words that statistically makes sense together, and it comes out absolutely amazing. But there's very limited reasoning behind it. There's little to no judgment behind it. There's little to no evaluation of ethics in the sense of making an autonomous decision along. None of that's happening. It's just a really good word salad generator, right? And we shouldn't get tricked into thinking that's intelligence, because it's not, right? And so we've got a lot of work to do ahead of us, I think.
I appreciate that you emphasized on that it is just a smart combination of something we had in earlier days to say so. It's easier to use by uneducated people, in the way of you do not have to be trained to get a result out of it. But the chain of commands or the chain of jobs done one after another, such as a batch job or simultaneously, is the very interesting aspect. And when this does not have guardrails, that can be tricky when the human in the loop is missed out. And that is my concern on agentic stuff. I looked into some stuff like Manu's so-and-so AI because I was curious. And I asked myself how much of the stuff which some folks in the CRM business are advertising as the real breakthrough, even that their stock is going more downside than upside, what are they delivering as a real value? Is it boys and their toys, and we wait for the bot CEO so he can stay in Hawaii? Or is it, honestly speaking, with very serious thoughts in mind, a real enabler if you can get some of that stuff on the street in a proper, ruled and compliant way?
Well, in the world of agentic AI, I'm of the opinion that we're somewhere in between the middle, right? They're better than just toys, but they're not fully autonomous. You know, for instance, the most in the business world, probably the most common use case of agentic AI right now is around sales development reps qualifying leads, right? So and this technology, frankly, has been around for several years and has evolved to be much more accurate in the last couple of years because of the innovation happening with GPTs and large language models. But the overall idea of automating inbound inquiries, or even doing some level of outbound prospecting, has been around for a while, and it's absolutely got a place, and it absolutely works with a narrowly constrained problem set. But remember that the purpose of lead qualification in the end is to move the conversation over to a human, a salesperson, who can carry it on further. And there's a lot of talk about automating the entire sales process, but it's all talk right now. But the act of doing sales development or business development by qualifying leads, certainly inbound leads where they've expressed interest and put some constraints around the conversation or context of the conversation, that's very real, absolutely happening. Take it a step further over to the HR world in terms of recruiting, responding to those first inbound job submissions and resumes. They've got that one nailed. They're doing a great job with that one. Even some lightweight front desk activities for routing people and somebody who's calling in. So a better IVR, if you will, a better interactive voice response, a better IVR. That's absolutely there. The level of dialogue that an AI avatar, whether it's over video or it's just purely over the phone, is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. But these aren't autonomous agents that have the ability to go get a job done and handle out of the normal circumstances and apply their judgment to solving those problems. It's just not there yet. Just not there. And so if you're a very large company and you've
Yeah.
got teams of people that are doing sales development, lead qualification, or doing things like that, then yeah, jobs are going to be lost because you don't need as many people to do that because automation is making it better. It's been the
Mhm.
story of automation for 50, 60, 80 years, right? But if you're looking for somebody who's going to, if you're a smaller company and doing that lead qualification is part of a job, it's
Yeah.
not the full job, just part of a job. Well, you're going to automate that task and make it better yourself. But that person who's orchestrating things isn't going away tomorrow by any stretch of the imagination.
I'm burning to share with you what we had observed from our conversations with Nicole France. She's made the statement for doing her restaurant and for investing in a small hotel, what she is doing with her husband, and that she now no longer has a team of employees or colleagues to work with, so that she is hiring ChatGPT to do some of the supportive work. We have had Christy Tupper from the perspective that watch out that you utilize the benefits, but do not lose your tonality or your own voice in personalization with some stuff, and try and check with a different approach, such as play around with 4 to 5 tools. And for the dedicated task, find the tool you love.
Right.
And an interesting aspect last week was Bill Price from the intention to be identified what the customer wants. And with his Amazon experience, where Thomas was right on spot as the best service is no service, such as if you do not have to repair anything or there are no complaints because you hit the wish of the customer, he is getting what he wanted,
Mhm.
is a fabulous thing, and where I could be enabling, helping, and out of your experience as advisor right now and your own utilization,
Mhm.
what did you catch? What are you doing with your AI stuff? What are your typical
So I
tasks?
think right now, the agentic AI discussion is a bit of a red herring.
Okay.
It's distracting people from the real value. So this whole discussion around is AI going to achieve intelligence? Is AGI coming? When do the agents start really taking over jobs in mass? I don't know. That's all stuff out there at some point in the future, and spending too much time worrying about those things, you lose focus on what you can do now. And so using ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, Claude as a thought partner, as a co-creator, as
Mhm.
a way of writing better at the very least, having more targeted search queries. I probably use Google search 20% of what I did 6 months ago because I
Mhm.
just do my queries inside of ChatGPT, and I explore ideas inside of ChatGPT. I ask at ChatGPT to um, uh, take an idea, tease it apart, ask me some questions back, and it becomes this co-creation partner for authoring content and researching content that is hugely beneficial. Certainly in my world, I'm sure in your world as well. We do a lot of research activities for clients. We do a lot of exploring of new ideas. It's creating content for brand development, creating content for blog articles, creating content for
Yeah.
emails. If you're a salesperson, responding to RFPs in seconds instead of days. If you're a salesperson, building your quarterly business review presentation deck for your management in hours as opposed to weeks. Those activities and that value that I just described, that's huge. And for certain classes of employees, it's a force multiplier that is unbelievable. It makes you 2, 3 times more effective in your job if you work in that type of world. Now, if you're a um, somebody, if you're not in the knowledge worker space and you're in construction or things like that, AI probably doesn't have a whole lot of value to you quite yet because it hasn't gotten to some of the other areas that we've talked about. But in the knowledge worker space,
Yeah.
huge force multiplier, huge ROI. Much more interesting to talk about what you can do right now than worrying about what may or may not come in the future from a job threat perspective. In fact, I interviewed a sales leader at a technology company called Splashtop, and he had a great line. He tells his people, his salespeople, don't worry about AI stealing your job. Worry about the salesperson who's learned how to use AI stealing your job. Right? It's that, and that line from him is, yes, that's exactly spot on right now.
I would like to know where you see by your advised organizations and in your own observations, get people properly trained to get that benefit done, to make it happen.
I've been on this journey of exploration for the last 3 months, the last 90 days, learning how to use AI. And I think I've got a pretty comparable journey to most people out there. So I started off playing around just a little bit, updating some email text. I put in some email text, make this sound better, that sort of thing. That's where I was at the beginning. I built a report for my team, and I had it clean up the report so it sounded better, more coherent. Just very limited kind of light experimentation. And then I took a course from I think it was Coursive, Coursiv. I paid my $25. I took a course, and I got about 2/3 of the way through, and I felt like I got all the value I was going to get out of it. And it wasn't ground shaking in terms of its content, but it was very useful in terms of content. It got me thinking about how to structure prompts, right? You want your prompts when it comes to using a large language model, you only get answers as good as the questions. So if you ask very vague questions, you're going to get very vague answers. But if you can ask very specific questions, you'll get very specific answers. And there's some ways to actually structure your prompt using the role, task, format, context structure, RTFC structure. I won't get, come visit my website, promptthis.ai, and learn more about that. But you can build I got a little commercial plug in there. But if learning how to do that from Coursive, I thought was great guides. Got me started, got me playing, got me understanding what was going on. And then I learned probably what was the most useful thing as you kind of graduate from beginning level usage of LLMs to moderate intermediate level is you learn to ask the LLM how to use it better. Have it train you. How can I make this question better? How can I make this prompt better? And you start getting into a bit of a dialogue with ChatGPT, with Gemini about how to better structure your questions to get better answers, and you have it train you. And that was an eye-opening moment for me, and really unlocked the next level, if you will, inside of this game that we call AI now.
And another example for that is having it assume one role, for example, a student that does an assignment. It's quite similar to the scenario that you did. And then once the assignment is done, have it assume the role of the professor that gave the assignment to the student, and have it
grade the work
and give suggestions for improvement to the work, which is.
So I'm doing an exercise right now. I'm kind of living in the moment with this because I'm on the board of trustees of a private high school here in the Bay Area, school that my daughter went to and graduated from. And I'm helping them figure out how to use AI as part of the board activities. And so I've created a custom GPT inside of ChatGPT, uploaded the board documents, the bylaws, the policies, the committee charters. And I've set it up so that you can ask questions directly to the directly to the custom GPT about, what's the process for recruiting a new board member. Doing this right now, right in the moment. This is something I'm working on the last couple of days. And it's the first custom GPT I've created, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. The interesting part is I'm rolling it out to the rest of the trustees. And the very
Mhm.
first question I get is, well, how do you know the answers are right? What about hallucinations? So I go through this whole process of answering the questions, and that question doesn't go away. There's like 2, 3 levels, but really, what about hallucinations? And the
Mhm.
first answers I'm getting back, I don't think they're correct. And so there's this whole, it's less about training Ralph, in my opinion, than it is about rolling out or adoption.
Mhm.
Training is part of the adoption process,
Yeah.
but getting people to lower their barriers and set some of their concerns that media has taught them to be worried about, set them aside and really dig in and start looking at what's happening and how to ask better questions and how to know what things the LLM is good at answering, such as what do our bylaws say about
Mhm.
recruiting new trustees,
Yeah.
versus asking really wide open questions like, what should the school do next to grow enrollment? That's a very wide open question that could go in all kinds of different directions and isn't really the purpose of the GPT that we built. And so that training in the context of where to use it and where not to use it, or where to trust the answers and where to not trust the answers, I'm finding is a more important training exercise
Yeah.
than the mechanics of how do you actually construct a prompt properly and that sort of thing. It's a very
Encourage for a playful approach, such as a child would approach it with curiosity. And if you are not trusting what he's answering, you have still the knowledge base to check up word by word if it's in the common sense approaching it. That is my approach if I'm going toward that. I'm experimenting. I'm honest, yeah, but because I'm
Mhm.
curious, yeah, I'm not um, trusting everything. So I do my checkups because it's my reliability. If I send out some
right.
stuff as an email, I always keep in mind AI can help you, but at the end of the day, you are liable for what you
It's
are
your
suggesting.
reputation. Yeah.
And I was curious on, have you had your own experiences with an RFP answering? Because if I go to a lot of RFPs, I would not know how to put them into the GPT and that it answer it.
Well, I'm going to go back to that interview that I had with that company, Splashtop.
Yeah.
They've rolled out custom GPTs across the company to help their salespeople, to help their customer support people, to help their employees. And they have a product GPT that answers questions about, and
Okay.
they've uploaded all the product documentation, everything into this custom GPT, where everything about the product structured in a canonical form that they want it to be, not just relying on ChatGPT to go out and search the website and figure out the canonical format that they want to go with, but they actually structured the data the way they wanted to. They did that for the product, and they
Yeah.
did that for the employee handbook. They
Wow.
started there, right?
Uh-huh.
And they spent time iterating on the prompt instructions that are built into the GPT, as well
Yeah.
as the content in the GPT, to make sure that it was coming back with accurate answers about the
Yeah.
product and accurate answers about what it means to be an employee at the company. And then they started layering on more processes on top of that, where uh, yes, you can rely on the product GPT for doing a response to a request for proposal, an RFP, and even then they had to define in the custom GPT the right processes and structure in place. What are the approvals when you do it? And so, here's the RFP. Your next step is to have it reviewed by you review it, or have this a specialist review it to make sure it's accurate. And so they did a very iterative approach around these custom GPTs, one centered around the product, one centered around the employees, and they're building on top of that. And they have somebody on a leader on the team who owns the content and owns making sure it's
Mm.
accurate. But the realization that is, until you go through this honing in process, um,
Yeah.
you you need to be certain to not just immediately believe every answer that comes out. You need to work and get the hallucinations out. So that was an interesting exercise, an interesting interview to go through. Yeah.
Trust but verify is what I always say about
trust but verify.
So that's still quite necessary. And in answer to Ralph's question, so it's basically an extension of the GPTs that you described from that company.
Yeah.
The knowledge base is a bit bigger, and you have a defined output, a defined structure for the output, and then you have a preliminary, a first draft of your code. You might want to
I think that exercise I just described, every company has been going through it, right? What's that project that every company, the project where ambition goes to die? The internal wiki, right? The SharePoint. Right? Everybody says, "Oh, we need to have this document. We need to have all of our documents up there. We need to make all the documents available." People put it on the internal wiki, and things get and then all the interest goes away because it's hard to find things. Yeah, it's a dustbin, right? It's just the back shelf. So that energy of organizing your data in a way that's easily searchable and easily discoverable has been going on for a while, but I think now it's turned practical, it's turned real, it's turned useful, it's just accelerated into gear. But the overall journey of how do I pull together the documentation that describes my product, my company, my strategy for engaging with customers, my brand experience, all these different components that every company needs to have codified and written down and accessible to the employees, is now just exploding into a world of ease of use and ease of discovery that it's really reinvigorating. But in the end, it's the same basic goals that companies have been trying to do for decades. And now it's much more useful. And so I think regardless of what today's technology, today it's ChatGPT, today it's Copilot, in 5 years from now, it'll be probably 5 months from now, the way this space is going. There'll be a new name and there'll be a new approach. But in the end, you still got to go through the process of collecting your policies and your strategies and your data in a way that people can find it useful. And you can't just expect an LLM to magically do that for you, because otherwise you get really weird answers.
Magic is my trigger word, as was wondering if you know some of German fairy tales. The German saying is die Heinzelmännchen von Köln, little elves, gnomes, which are overnight doing for a shoemaker. They are magically making his shoes. For me, AI, if we approach it in a playful fairy tale-like way, is somehow the magic which has happened there overnight is the helper for your day-to-day work if you use it properly. And such as I asked Microsoft partners, where would they use it? What would they advise? And what do they recommend? And I say, a lot of customers of ours do have that SharePoint dustbin. With Copilot, it gets useful again. And they find stuff they didn't know of that it was still there.
Yeah, exactly.
Magic. And seeing that as an advantage, we come to one of the next real challenges in my perspective. Get me clean data, you bloody AI machine. Make my data proper, clean it, and keep it proper. That is, if somebody has a correct, proper, easy to use answer to that, he can go to the stock exchange and get a trillionaire on spot.
Well, that's certainly the problems being solved right now by all these different startups I'm seeing out there. How do you? I'll take it a step back. How do you? Data is the outcome or the output of a process. How do I rethink my processes in my company so that everything's AI first? How do I change the way I work on a day-to-day basis so that when I'm interacting with my colleagues, with my customers, my investors, my suppliers, I'm working in a way that captures information in a easy to use, digestible format, and then structures it for rapid queries. This is what every company is doing right now as they build out the next generation of AI-based software solutions built around knowledge graphs, built around tools like LangChain and others, where you are taking your information hierarchy and structure and embedding it into the company in a way that unlocks massive potential. And that's a fun place right now. I'm advising a company that has built a whole tool set around brand amplification. How do you amplify your brand across blogs, LinkedIn, Reddit, Twitter, and drive awareness of your brand such that you get not only more leads, but you're also showing up in search queries inside of Copilot, inside of ChatGPT, inside of the LLMs. You know, the world of SEO is gotten more complicated. It's not just about search engine optimization anymore. How do you do answer engine optimization inside of an LLM? And it's a totally different way of thinking and working, and all of the mechanics are very different, and the processes are different. And it's cool. It's a great, but the desired outcome is still the same, right? The desired outcome is, how do I get my company brand in front of everybody and make it a very memorable brand that they refer back to when they're looking to solve a particular type of problem. You know, every company's, again, been doing that forever, but we have a whole new set of tools and a whole new set of processes, and it's structuring the data, back to your point, Ralph, in a way that makes it easy to access.
Cool.
Just the data that is already there, which needs to get structured too. So I agree that with this tool set, or with these rethought processes, there are basically guardrails in place that prevent, not only guardrails, help us that, well, keep me from wanting to put in some BS data into my system because I'm asking for it. Yeah, so this is what usually happens, right? Oh, this is a mandatory field. I don't have time, so just put something in there.
Right? The first value in the drop down, right?
Yeah, right.
Whenever you do a data analysis and a particular piece of data, particular field comes from a drop down, and the most commonly observed value is that first value, then you know that nobody's paying any attention to that particular drop down.
Well, stop. Give me, as the system designer, some credit. Of course, I make it so that the first value is the most important one.
The one that you want to come out, right? The one that, the little tipping of the scales there. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you're perfectly right there, spot on. So the system helps create good data and helps maintain good data because it prevents me from inputting data by just doing it for me. Just quote unquote.
You know, in the world of analyzing, in the world of analyzing structured data in databases and spreadsheets, there's been a lot of good technology to find trend analysis, a lot of good AI technology to find trend analysis for years now. Where I think the real opportunity is in the unstructured data, and all that archive of emails that you have locked up inside of Outlook, or in all of those meeting recordings that you've forgotten about and haven't done anything with, all those customer call recordings that you haven't done anything with. Being able to pass that data now through an LLM for everything for sentiment analysis, tone analysis, summaries, key themes. It's amazing. Here's an example that I just heard about from a manager of a sales team. All those customer calls and internal calls that they've been recording, he now passes that directly into ChatGPT with a structured evaluation framework, and he comes out with his performance evaluation for his people at the end of the year, where he spends less time but puts in more accurate data and gets a better analysis that is truly helpful and actionable for the employee for how they can develop and how they can grow, as opposed to the, basically the wild ass guesses that he was putting in the past. And I think that that's an area that people are just beginning to scratch the surface on how to take all that unstructured data and put it into structured processes for meaningful outcomes for your employees, for your company, for your customers, in ways that are just at the front end of getting unlocked. But in there, yes, I do agree that doing trend analysis on structured data using AI algorithms is very helpful. But I kind of feel like we've already gotten good at that over the last 10 years. It's the unstructured data space that is truly
The
exciting.
unstructured data space is the real value that got added. I mean, I always ask myself, what's the definition of AI? Because over time it changes.
Mhm.
If you're going back 5 to 10 years with predictive, not talking about prescriptive AI or systems, that was the latest hot thing. And it was AI. And if you say AI right now, the last thing that comes into your mind is a predictive system. Whereas looking at where the real value is for time being, it's exactly there
Right.
for time being. So, but just like, because it's no more magic, it's probably no more AI. What's your take on that?
On the magic versus AI factor, or what do you mean?
On the running target that AI apparently is.
Oh,
Where does it start and where does it
that's
end?
what's making it fun. I got to tell you, it reminds me of the energy in the early days of web-based applications, what we now call software as a service. Lots of ideas coming out, lots of ideas being tested. Some of the ideas, just the technology isn't there yet. Some of the ideas, the technology, it reminds me a lot of 1999 to 2005, if you will. It feels like that era where there's so many ideas coming out and a lot of startups, and most of them aren't going to make it. Some of them will, because we're figuring out entirely new work patterns. And so it's exciting. Ultimately your question is, what do I think about that moving target? I say I think that's what makes it fun. I also know that it makes it feel overwhelming to people, especially people who are just kind of paying attention once a week, once every few days, maybe even once a month only. And so that's where I think it's helpful for people like me to come in and sift through the noise and say, hey, you should pay attention to this. You should pay attention to this. Yeah, there's stuff going on over here. There's a lot of hype going on. It's in the hype cycle, and we're climbing to the top of inflated expectations. Don't get too distracted at this piece. This piece is real. Go focus on that. And I think that's a very helpful exercise in this world of AI.
One needs to become more solution orientated, not technology orientated. So why do I use that stuff? And should I use it at all? Because I mean, many problems that are sincerely still many problems that are getting solved are the ones that are already solved. They are now just solved in another way, which is potentially far more expensive than
faster, cheaper.
Yeah. No, it's not.
More interactive. But in the end, we're solving the same problems.
Yeah, we're solving, and it's often not even faster nor cheaper. It's just different.
Yeah.
By a different technology on the same problem, then it better be faster and cheaper.
Yeah.
I was wondering, after your past roles as SugarCRM, I wanted to emphasize a bit and dig in on personalization and customer experience. And with that experience you had in Sugar, how to judge and see the following two aspects. How does AI improve personalization in marketing and customer engagement? And can AI create consistent omni-channel experiences for customers?
Answering the first question, it's very straightforward how AI is helping with personalization. It has the ability to make every interaction so personalized as to be almost creepy, almost weird, right? I can feed data into a real-time process where I could be unpacking the person on the other side of the interaction. Where did they go to school? What are their interests? What are their background? I could feed information to a customer service rep that would make the whole interaction very weird. right? And so you have to think of you're able to do such a level of hyper personalization that you got to know where you can actually dial it back now and keep focused on why is this person calling? What's an enjoyable experience? How do I solve what they're looking to solve? How do I stay focused on point, and not overindulge at the micro level of personalization that you could deliver. So that's an interesting space that we've been in, because for most of our careers, it's about how do you drive more personalization, and now we're saying, whoa, pull it back, not that far, right?
Potentially we can get the audience of one now, theoretically. It's
there. It's a little expensive right now, to be honest, and that's where a lot of technologists are spending the time segmenting out the problems and the tools that are being applied there, and making it cheaper and faster and more scalable. But yeah, that's basically what it comes down to.
Martha Rogers have to jump in squares. Yeah. The one-to-one marketing is
you are going into the Wayback Machine on that one, Ralph.
Yeah,
I love it because
he's calling himself a dinosaur.
I would have become a historian or an archaeologist. Yeah.
I think I love the work that the Rogers and Peppers team did back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Some of the best work that's been ever done in how to create a customer experience.
As Thomas said, I describe myself as an agile CRM dinosaur. I am a velociraptor. I love to hunt in teams. Yeah. And the prey shall watch out.
Well, you and I have the gray hair to prove it. Thomas has just circumvented the problem by not having any hair. So he's not showing his age anymore.
I'm eternally young.
Eternally young. Thomas, you had a second question in there, and I don't remember what it was. I got so wrapped up in my answer of hyper personalization. Or Ralph, was it your question? There was a question, the second question in there.
I didn't put the bad hyper word in it because this makes Thomas aggressive. No, the second part was, can AI create a consistent omnichannel experience for customers?
Yeah, I think it does. I think it creates. Is it creating a better experience for customers? I think the answer is hands down yes, because it's very personalized, because you get better answers more quickly. I mean, there's a point in time when you're talking to a human customer service agent and you got a question as a customer, and sometimes they say, I have to go research that, or they say, hold for a moment while I go look that up. And you could have, I'm remembering some calls into United Airlines where the person would go silent for 5-10 minutes as they're trying to do things for me. And now that all that activity, and certainly when it comes to looking up information, is just so much faster, so much easier. It's happening near real time. Yeah, that's absolutely a better experience for customers. However, I think, I'm going to come back to my comment earlier about the creepy factor, right? Yeah. You need to be very thoughtful about creating an experience that is pleasant. In some cases, people want to err on the side of efficiency and accuracy and work with a company through a portal-like interface. And maybe it's an avatar. But sometimes people want to actually connect with the brand and have a conversation and solve a problem by talking to a person. And so trying to automate all of that and trying to give all of that as an avatar-based experience, I don't like that. So I had a guest. In fact, my very first guest, a guy named Charles Hicks, on the podcast. He talked about how the purpose of AI is to automate the mundane and humanize the exceptional. Automate the mundane and humanize the exceptional. And I thought that was a very insightful comment when it comes to customer experience. Yeah, take all the mundane stuff, make it fast, easy, automated. But when it comes to actually building loyalty to a brand, when it comes to connecting with a brand, when it comes to building that overall brand experience, people are people. They want to connect with another human, and they want to feel like they're connecting with another human. And so there's my thought on that. Don't go overboard with the technology is basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, the creepiness is the really important part. Because there's also, let's say there's data and there's data. some is old, some is current, some is good, and some is outdated, which better does not show up in any inference about what I want to use. So that's why I'm still a fan of, let's say, automating the in the moment tasks, because there the intent that I have is pretty clear. And my background at that point in time also. But if you use my Navy experience to give me an answer, then you're about mountaineering, then you probably end up in the wrong jargon.
Yeah,
and that
could be critical.
It also doesn't matter, right? Referring to that.
Yeah. So
that is the thing that requires people. On the other hand, automate the mundane. Look at what businesses are doing. They are not of the opinion that the best service is no service, but they are of the opinion that service happens anyways, so make it as difficult as possible to get to a human. While not making sure that they are getting a great experience when not going to the human. Great experience being the answer fast and efficiently. And I think this is where a generative and agentic AI actually can help a lot.
Yeah, I think companies more and more every day they're differentiating on experience, and it's more and more difficult to differentiate just on product. And if everybody is following the same pattern of using avatars and AI for every aspect of interaction and taking humans out of the equation, you just look like everybody else.
Yeah,
being clever and thoughtful about where you apply the human experience, I think is probably one of the most important brand differentiators of this next era ahead of us. And so to think that you're going to get rid of all of your customer facing people and automate them, sure, you can do that. You're gonna have a shitty you're gonna have a crappy brand. you're gonna have a brand that doesn't really stand out that much. You're gonna have a brand that just looks like everybody else, and you're gonna be a commodity.
One call it the
a recent case of a company that laid off a bunch of customer service representatives, replaced them with an AI system.
Oh, what's the name of that?
With the low
or something like that. I forget the name of the company, but there's an AI blogger.
Marketing Force, probably, but
ouch.
He now refers to it as the core effect.
I mean,
from boomeranging to Klarna.
It's a pretty low goal to only want to maintain the CSAT score, the CSAT score. So if I'm going somewhere like that, I better have the goal of improving it, and then I need to think hard about what I'm doing actually. So
there's a lot of hype in this job space right now. There's a lot of hype in I'm transforming, CEOs saying I'm transforming my company by and getting rid of 4,000 jobs and turning it over to AI. I've got a particular point of view on this. So a few years ago, there's this thing called COVID. Remember that? And everybody had to work from home. Remember that? And all these companies around the world got a bunch of free money, stimulus money, to keep the doors open and keep people employed. And a lot of that stimulus money ended up in the pockets of technology companies that were designed to enable remote working, right? Zoom being the biggest one out there that we all think about. Huge amount of money went into their pockets. A lot of it stimulus money, a lot of it fake money, created a bubble. And those technology companies hired a lot of people. It was an absolute employee market back in 2022, 2023. I don't know if you remember that. So I absolutely remember. We talked about it within our own leadership team about how it's hard to hire people right now. It's hard to keep people there. There's just a frothy market. Everybody's getting hired because there's all this money coming into the technology space from stimulus programs. And then a few years later, all that money's turned off, and these companies are not showing the same kind of year-to-year growth that they had before. Now they need to start laying off some of those people that they are. But what's the best way to tell the story? rather than saying, hey, we overhired and now we need to lay people off, is to instead say, I'm applying AI to my business, and I'm being thoughtful about how we transform our business to being AI, and basically use AI as a scapegoat. And so it's certainly in the software and technology space, I see that playing out a lot right now, of companies that had to dial back because you're not seeing the same stimulus bubble growth as 22, 23, and using AI as a convenient scapegoat.
They would have fired the CEOs because they made very poor decisions.
They made the best decisions with the data that they had at the time.
And the lever between firing John Doe with a lowly salary and the CEO is far better.
Yeah, the software space is a roller coaster. A lot of ups, a lot of downs. Yep. And every time it's going up, we all think it's going to be endlessly going up, and we start putting plans in place for this future growth that's just going to keep going up and to the right, and then reality hits and it's back down. And it's just that's tech.
Anyhow, I was just, as you know, German culture, German precision, punctuality as we're closing.
Bring this train in for to the station on time.
Well, we are as guests on time, but the trains or the planes are not. That is the disaster we have in Germany right now. But aside of that, we haven't touched too much into the limits of AI. It's the typical attitude, as you know already, and our habit that we would like to ask you for the famous last words to close our session and wrap up. What are your 3 suggestions for an SMB to start up with AI? And what would be your most favorite tools setup, free and for money, you would suggest to them, please?
Well, every company is going to choose an LLM now, a large language model. It's like part of your Microsoft Office suite. You're going to go with the Google suite, you're going to go with the Microsoft suite, but you're going to have email, you're going to have slide decks, you're going to have word processing. You're also going to have an LLM, right? So whether that's ChatGPT or Copilot or Gemini or Claude, choose one and stick with it. Right. And the reason I say that is because they're all innovating so quickly. One might be ahead of the other right now, but over the course of the next year, they're all going to catch up and be roughly comparable. And it's this thought partner. It is this tool to make you more effective at creating the written word, the spoken word, the visual word. You're gonna invest in that. I use ChatGPT. I think it's a great tool. I started using it early. My co-host, he uses Microsoft Copilot. He loves Copilot. It's just woven deeply into the Microsoft suite. He thinks it's fantastic. I've played with Gemini. I've played with Perplexity. I've played with Claude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Gemini is just always there because it's part of your Google search now. Yeah. Claude and Perplexity, I use them for some things, but I got to tell you, I just use ChatGPT. So pick your LLM and stick with it and invest in it and figure out how to start weaving it into your business around that product hub, that employee hub, that customer hub, that information that I described earlier to you guys. Secondly, some fun tools that I think are absolutely just killer and make work fun. HeyGen, HeyGen, is a fantastic tool for creating videos. It is absolutely mind-boggling what a mere mortal can do with HeyGen. I'm doing things inside of HeyGen with, a combination of the free plan and the $40 a month plan. I only pay for it when I actually need to use the higher end features. I get a lot of value out of the free version. I hope they don't hear that because I don't want them to change their pricing structure. But HeyGen allows me to do things kind of from a content creation marketer mindset, but you can also use it for rolling out training videos. You can use it for product videos. You can use it for anything that you would have created videos that you would have had to go spend $2,000 to $5,000, maybe even $10,000 to $50,000 with an external agency. You can do it yourself now for $40 a month. Absolutely amazing. Go play with HeyGen. Some other ones that I think well, the one that I think is fun too, that we've woven into our podcast, is a song generation tool. It's
Ah,
the main company is called Suno,
mhm.
Suno, but they actually, for whatever reason, they go to market under a variety of different URLs. So the one that I ended up coming across was AIsonggenerator.ai, because they were really working hard to get AI song generator, and creating songs for fun as part of, a love song for your wife, an
Yeah.
inspirational song for your kid, a song for a friend based upon some shared experience from that you did some stupid thing back in college 30 years ago, a song for sales kickoff, a walkout song for your CEO that ties back to the theme of the sales kickoff. Here's an idea. A song for celebrating when a salesperson closes a deal. Instead of hitting the gong, you play a little song snippet. Injecting song into your life that's super high quality, engaging, funny, fun, inspiring. It's really cool. I'm not really a song type person, to be
Yeah.
honest, but because I just really have no aptitude. I can't play an instrument. My wife plays an instrument. My kids play instruments. I'm the technology guy, right?
Yeah.
I run the soundboard in the background. That's my job when it comes to music. And now I can start generating music, and that's fun. That's really neat. That's one worth exploring. So those are my 3 recommendations. Find your LLM, choose it, roll with it, get good at it, get beyond just the basic mechanics of how to write a better email or that sort of thing. Check out HeyGen. It's cool. It's really fun. Especially for those of us that aren't just naturally that creative, and then taking that same idea to AIsonggenerator.ai. I think those are 3 places I would recommend people spend their time right now.
Thank you, Clint. That's our CRM convo for today. This hour honestly just flew by again. And to our friendly guests, even with the challenges on LinkedIn, thanks you so much for being with us this week. And thanks, Clint, for your time and insight being with us. And it will be our special honor to learn more about Prompt This and what special findings you will have, and share these experiences in another CRM Convo. But please tune in next week when we dive into real lived experiences, RLX, with our guest Chris Lohr, where we want to explore the next step on CX from that perspective. And trust me, that is not only the healthcare perspective where Bergson AI is coming from, and they created a lot of stuff which is useful also for the typical CX business. Having said that, take care and be with us next Tuesday. And now, Thomas, hit the red button and we go backstage.